Hey, as they
Hey,
say.
the song's over.
It's over. I know it's over.
I know it gets you hyped, right?
It definitely does.
That's kind of the idea. It's almost like it ends and all of a sudden it's like womp womp. Here's Chris and Jim.
Yeah. So folks, I know you're like, where is Tim today? Well, welcome to the Tim and Jim show. And today I have a guest co-host, Chris Stone. Want to send prayers out to Tim's family. It's not Tim specifically, but there are some things going on that Tim is just taking a little break to take care of the number one priority, which is family. And but we talked about it and really wanted to make sure that the show went on. And so my good friend Chris Stone from Dealcasters fame has been kind enough to step in as a guest co-host for
Call me up from the bush leagues, man. I'm from the minors.
And do you see what Chris has done? He's like making us look really bad. He's got this whole TV thing going on now behind him, and look at what he did. He added this Tim and Jim show thing, and so thank you, Chris. That is, you just
always be branding.
So we've got backstage too, which is exciting for Fusion Marketing. My intern Randy from Kennesaw State University. So
everybody say hi backstage to Randy. Hi, Randy.
Hi, Randy.
She's learning about StreamYard, learning about how we do this production work, and of course, she improved her background after seeing mine. Now I don't know what she's going to think after seeing yours, Chris. So we're always making each other level up. But really excited today. We've got my friend Nicolas here, who actually lives like in Marietta. Like we've actually had coffee in person at a Starbucks, learned about his amazing product, eStreamly, because today we're going to talk about how you can, bring live selling or like we like to say, live solving into your business, because it's not just about Amazon, right? There are so many opportunities. Nicolas and I have been talking about doing some collaboration on some projects. And so really excited to have Nicolas on. I was on their podcast recently. He's traveling all over, so I'm glad he had the time to do this. I know you've got some conferences coming up you're going to be traveling to. But yeah, so let's get started. And so Nicolas, tell us about yourself. Really want to learn about how this journey started for you.
Yeah, first of all, I kind of want to really thank you. I think super excited to be here. I agree with you, Chris. The sound is amazing, and like when you stop, I'm like, oh, what's going on? Like all of a sudden, like you're back on stage. I'm like, oh my god! So I just smile and all that. I was like almost dancing. It was really cool. So hi everyone, my name is Nico. I'm the co-founder of eStreamly. As you can hear, I'm not from Alabama. My accent is very strong, I know. originally from France, been here in the US for the last 11 years, and really got a chance to work with big company, very small companies across many different spectrum of products. And really what got me started is I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My parents were fishmongers, so when I was very young, early on, I was the end on the ice selling fish underneath the farmer's market. And first of all, my old generation, all the family, all the folks in the family are all were in the fish industry. And, I'm not a kind of guy that can stay the end on the ice all day long. So the cold is really not something for me. So I wanted to get out of this, which I did. But I did learn to sell and the power of selling in person. And that's really where it started for me because, in farmers markets, in every colleague that that have worked on a farmer's market, if you know any, will tell you the same thing. Like when it's the owner that sell the product versus an apprentice or an employee or anything, you sell twice as more. And why is that? It's because the owner know the product by heart. He know the customer. He love his product. He's passionate about it. He's been doing it for years. Not saying that the apprentice or someone else can't sell the product as well, but that passion, it's very unique. It's a feeling, right? And so you can only get that once you are in a show like this or when you are in a face-to-face and you have an engagement and you in a conversation. And I always track with my mind. Once I left the family nest, I ended up traveling across the world and worked for many companies in the fair trade and organic movement, but always on the selling side and selling to CPG, selling to the B2B farmer, supermarkets and all that. And really, it's when I went through the pandemic and I was seeing all those really amazing product trying to get to market, and then I was working with big brands that produce beverages that you probably know of and meat company and all that. And at the same time, I was seeing the passion that those guys had. And right now in retail, it's kind of it's very difficult to get in retail. So what people are doing, they go online. But online, if you're not like a marketing expert, and I'm not a marketing expert, and it's very difficult for me. But if you're not a marketing expert and know how to play with pictures and social commerce and all that, it's very difficult to create a name for you. And so I was like, how do we bring people at the center of e-com? There must be a way of doing that. And I met my partner, Smita. She's also in Atlanta. Shout out for her. And she had this passion about, how do we use technology to serve people? And then that's how we started to investigate. We looked at blockchain. We looked at VR, AR. We looked at camera 360, always from an angle of having a product, and the economic was not working for us. And then one day, she said, hey, I saw this thing in China going on. It's live streaming. And I know about live streaming. I think I can do something. And then in about 2 weeks, we got a really barely working prototype, but it was like functionable. And we say, hey, this sounds to be a thing. And so let's do it. And we've been building since. And it's been an amazing journey. And there's nothing that excites me more than seeing someone like an entrepreneur or even a host that is passionate about his audience, passionate about the product he's going to present, having a true engagement about why they're here and what his product is about and why is it different. That is really fascinating to me, and I'm really glad I did that because it's been a joy since. It's been a lot of work and effort, but it's really fascinating to enable people to become the center of e-com. And that's what I think live commerce, video commerce is about.
Wow. What an amazing story. And so, it sounds like the idea was birthed through the pandemic, right? So how old is eStreamly? How long would you say, it originated, only a few years?
Yeah, so we started to think about how bring people at the center of commerce in 2018, and really eStreamly itself, we started in 2020, December 2020, by putting the thing together. But that's when we stumbled into live streaming, because I think we have to be honest with technology is great, but it's not always ready for prime time for everything, right? Like you think blockchain, you think, those are great technology. You can do a lot of things, but you have to have adoption. You have to be easy to use. And, not everyone has, 5G or 4G or anything. And so you have to find that technology like VR, for instance. You can do amazing thing with VR, but who has a headset? Who has the technology that do that? And so in some ways, like how do you compensate for mass versus quality? And I think live stream is right at that point right now, where the infrastructure is built in the US. People have bandwidth, they have phones, they have access to data, and payment is getting better. There's a lot of touching point that makes, I think, it work now. Than 5 years from now, maybe 10 years from now, will be really poor experience. So
yeah, and you bring up an interesting point, and I know Nicholas, we've talked a lot about this. China, right? You brought that up. China is a multi-billion-dollar live shopping industry. You got, these very young people that are literally making millions of dollars being live sellers.
Yeah.
And they've got these fans, and it's kind of like if I were to tell them, hey, you need to buy this this cloud lifter from Cloud, they'd be like, oh, okay. Well, Jim said I need to buy it, so I'm going to go get it because I need it. But why do you think it's taken longer for it to, really catch on here in the US? Is it because of the technology? Is it because we still like to go out to stores, which I think a lot of us have gotten over that? Maybe the last 3 years have helped. What do you really think it is that, where you see that this is going to become a bigger thing? Because I know Amazon's been doing it. Chris and I have been on there, and I think they're continuing to push that. But it's kind of like, and the other retailers are maybe starting to stick their toe in the water a little bit, but they're like, how do we make this work?
Yeah, so I love this question. First of all, for context, for people that are not aware of, I'm sure your audience is really well versed with that. But live stream in China is just this gigantic, powerful, roller coaster. That when you start showing something, people are talking about conversion rate in the 50-60%. Conversion rate of 50-60% is crazy. Like 1 in 2 people are buying something. But more interestingly is that it's kind of like, people are talking about that endless aisle. I think that's what you can get with really live streaming, right? Because there's a guy who was able to sell for $1.7 billion of product in a 12-hour live stream back in October. When you think about like 2021, so when you think about it, to give you a sense of scale, 1.7 billion Macy's, the biggest Macy's store in New York, in the Fifth Avenue, I think it is, they sell for 1.3 a year, right?
Wow.
This guy in 12 hours sell for 1.7. So think about the mass, that you can actually move through live stream. Now, not everyone is going to sell that 1.7. And I mean, like we all wish we could do that, because then it will be just 12 hours and then I'm done. I'm going to vacation.
Just a little bit, just a portion of that actually would be okay.
That would be great. But the reality is this, right? China has been doing it for almost 6 years now, 6-7 years. They're on their 7 years. It's 20% of the e-com. They are really investing in it, right? So I think it's a shoe brand, and I can't remember the name, but I think they are streaming 12 hours a day, every day, and they have 160 people just working on that and on the streaming, right, on the strategy, and it's 50% of all their sales in China, and that's a massive company. But think about the scale, right? Like 150 people. You could think it's a lot of people, but it's not that many either, because like at the scale of whole China, and this is like a huge brand, it's not that many also. So it's very profitable for those brands to do that. Why is it not the same in the US? I think there's really multiple factors for it. First, in the US, we are very much spoiled by everything, right? We try one thing, didn't work out, we move on. Right. And the reality in China is like they try until they get it, and they try, they stop. And it's much more a different mentality about the pain is valued again. And so I think they really are pushing always the boundary and pushing and pushing and pushing. So that's one thing. The other thing I think is the US market is very much a market that wants to be entertained. And a lot of content that we are seeing in the US is really much like, hey, look at my cup. You should buy my cup. It's the best cup on the earth, and it's blue and actually has some white on it, and it's a great cup. Why don't you buy it? It's like, okay, well, what's in it for me? Like where is the entertainment? Like,
Yes.
Why would I watch you? Why, this is a second problem. So the content itself is a problem, and I think we need to level up to the content, make it entertaining, making about you, not about me. Like, I love what you're saying always the time. It's like, it's about life solving. It's like, what's the problem you're solving? How can I solve it for you? Is it really the solution? Do you really need that cup? Maybe you don't drink coffee, and this is great for coffee. And if you're drinking tea, this is going to be way too small for you. You should not buy that. And it's all about this, right? Through getting to those nuances. The other element is, I think, the experience in China. They have something called a super app, which is something that depending of like who you consider, Elon is trying to build through Twitter, but it's this notion like we have community where you can have everything. And we don't have super app in the US market. It's very much segmented. Like you have the e-com one way, you have social media another way, payment process is there. And so there's really no one place where everything gets together. Even Amazon, for instance, Amazon is trying to get into that round, right? They are shopping, but they are trying to get more inspiring through some of their program they're doing and everything. But Amazon is the place you go to shop. It's not the place you go to hang out and just watch a show and have good time, or or scroll pictures or learn from your friends and all that. So at least not yet, and maybe they are going to get there. So I think that's one. Also, the other reason why the Chinese market has been really more predominant with that. So recapping is the consistency and the willingness to experiment. Super important. That's really key. The second is really thinking about content and like making it about entertainment, about solving a problem. And then the third thing is like this notion of technology and facilitating, removing the friction. And then maybe there's an additional caveat to that overall reason why it's also in China, they're really thinking through the what's need for me very deep way. And every product they present, there's a reason why you should buy this product now and not tomorrow. And unfortunately, in the US market, if I'm presenting this cup, there's really like not only it's white and blue and it's good for coffee, but that's it. Like no one is really trying to push the boundary and saying, hey, by the way, if you buy this cup now, you get a picture of me, or you get to speak to Jim, or you actually at the number 10 that people buy, there is like the special event, a special ticket that gets you to the moon or something. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but like you have to create a reason. Like, if you look at QVC, there's no product that is on QVC that don't have a what's in it for me, right?
Right.
And that's kind of fundamental. And so people are arguing, so, oh yeah, but it's not all about discount and it's about the value you provide and all that. Yes, it's true, but the live stream, you have an opportunity to engage with your users, to have a conversation in some way. And so if you want to have that conversation, you have to motivate people to come in. And maybe you don't do everything at discount, but you should have like some really strong, appealing product that have the what's needed for me to excite your audience to show up and tune in and want to listen and engage with you.
Absolutely. I love it. I love the value added piece that you're talking about. I think that's something that is absolutely lost right now, because it's a lot of people showing up and a lot of people talking about stuff and talking about their lives and maybe chatting and engaging with people. But I think to your point, if you don't know why what solution this provides for someone with that particular product, and or are you entertaining them, or are you giving them something else? Otherwise, they're gone and you just got lucky. You might have gotten their commission because they might have needed it at that point. Jim and I, when we first started doing Dealcasters, Nicolas, we were we were thinking along the lines of when you walk into a place to buy something, you're there to buy. You didn't just, oops, I fell into a Best Buy and like I fell into the DVD section and I grabbed the Greatest Showman DVD. Like it doesn't happen like that. You know when you go in, especially now, everyone does tons of research if they're going to go into a store, even online. Before you go into Amazon, they're watching other things, they're showing up. And then when they show up there and they're being entertained and someone is there actually showing them how it works, and they're answering your questions while you're there. So we envisioned a place like, hey, let's just pretend we're the biggest tech, solution people, geek squad, whatever, on the planet. And we're going to talk about this stuff. We're not knuckleheads. We know enough to be dangerous about this thing. And, demonstrate and talk. And while we're talking about a microphone, we're also saying, hey, you might want to treat your room a little bit. You might want to talk across a mic instead of into it, because it's going to destroy the diaphragm in the mic and you're going to send people running for the hills and they're not going to really listen to what you're saying and what you're being able to provide to them. Sometimes we'll have a show and we don't intend to sell anything. We're talking about stuff and we're hoping, oh gosh, I hope Amazon doesn't shut down our live stream because we really didn't talk a lot about products during this thing. Yet we'll look at our commission report and see that people actually bought stuff while we're doing it. And so we decided, and I don't know, Nicolas, in your opinion, when did things become, especially in the US, that whole sort of what Ross Brand calls a pitch fest, where it's like product here, this is this, this is this, this is this. When did people think that they had to start doing that? And is it because they got that quick money maybe and quick attention for live selling?
I don't know. I think people are trying to figure it out. And when people are trying to figure it out, there's always come down to the cost, right? And so, all right, I'm in this new era where I need to engage my customer through, like a live stream now. And I have to manage my cost as well. And so you have the technology, and then you're telling me that I need to be consistent. You're telling me that it has to be, across different places and all that. And not everyone has video production capability in-house and everything. And so what we're seeing is a lot of people, they say, oh, this is going to be the next big thing. Let me try out. And they come either unprepared or they just for cost, they kind of don't talk strategy through it. And so they just say, I can figure this out myself. And unfortunately, when you think about live shopping, live selling altogether, video commerce, I'll say, 20% is really the technology. So having the right technology, thinking through where do you do your live and all that. But the rest is about, okay, how do you manage your live? Who is going to produce it? Who is going to be the talk show? How do you make it entertaining? All those elements that, I often talk about the 4P and the H, which is the price, the promotion, the traditional, the place, and the H for the host. You have to think through all those things and then have a roll-up map and make sure that you follow those things. And I think it's the problem that we're having is people are thinking, oh, I can hire a creator for that. The problem is not every creator are well suited for live streaming, right? So that's one challenge, right? Live streaming is a very different beast than posting a picture on Instagram. It's so that's very important. And then the other thing is how do you engage your community? How do you drive that community? How do you make your show and your event something where people feel included, they feel listened to, they feel engaged, and this is an art, and that's not something you do overnight. And so because of that, people tend to say, you know what, I'm going to be the host, and they just jump in, try 1, 2, 3 times, and then they burn themselves because it takes time and all that, and they feel they don't see the results. So I really think, and the easy way when you're stressed out is your voices start to distort, and then you know your product, so you start just telling all the benefit about it, but you forget that in front of you there's people, and you don't see those people, but they are here, right? We know that Jeff is on the other side, and hello, Jeff.
What's up, Jeff?
And and now how do I bring Jeff in? Like just you did. You bring his comment in, and then you engage with him and all that. But there's probably more than Jeff on the other side. And who are the other person? Why are they coming here? What do they want to know about this thing, right? And maybe asking them. And so that's what we're missing today, I think.
Yeah, it's the mindset of content creators, podcasters, live streamers in general too, not just live sellers. And I always talk about, this show's about, live selling software, but we're going to take all this content and it's going to live forever. It's going to live, well, not, as long as Elon Musk and Zuckerberg and all of the puppeteers allow it to remain on the platform. So I think about it from that standpoint too, as far as legacy is concerned. And so when you think about it like that, then you prepare yourself a little bit more. Then you you think about it a little more deeply and you give it more attention to detail, and you say, okay, you know what, even if nobody watched live, or 5 people watched live, or only Jeff C watched us today, this content's going to live beyond me. I'm going to be 6 feet underground in another place, and this conversation's going to be somewhere that hopefully will impact someone on down the line. So can we talk about eStreamly? Can we talk about how, I don't want to, this is getting super deep, and I'm like, we got to talk about this guy's software, right? But I'm super intrigued about it because I'd like to know who it's for first, and then without getting we could get technical on this, but I think like a 9-year-old most of the time, so we can't get we can't start talking about binary codes and things like that. But I'd love to be able to hear about who the software is for.
Yeah, so the software is for, I'll say, the mid-sized brand. We're trying to build a live selling solution that has as many components that the technology can have to make really a comprehensive solution to create a channel, a live selling channel on your website. And that include the video commerce piece, which is the shoppable video, the live streaming piece, the reminder to your audience, the data analytics about where that shopper is coming from, what the shopper is doing or the viewer is doing on your live, all those elements. And then the simulcasting, like how do you distribute that content across different platforms and all that. So this is what the software is for. The very unique difference about eStreamly for the people that are in this space and understand a little bit about what's going on is we've taken the very hard path to have in-video checkout. And because we have in-video checkout, it means that video becomes shoppable where it's seen, as opposed to changing you and pushing you to a different experience. So if you take your video and you have a deal with the Wall Street Journal and you put your video there, that video becomes shoppable there. If you put it on social media, that becomes shoppable on social media. If you have your video and you put it, I don't know, on your mom blog, whatever, that video become shoppable on your mom blog. And the way we have built the technology is we are an extension of your e-commerce. So you're still all the data is still yours. The payment is still yours. The product information are yours. So we're just really trying to give you an opportunity for your video to become micro e-commerce websites all across. And so the more content you produce, the more e-commerce website you have. And that's how we think about this. It's a very hard path that we've taken because it's kind of complex. But today we are integrated with the Shopify, the BigCommerce, the WooCommerce. We're working on Magento right now and Commerce Cloud. So those are platforms that if people are on there, they can easily onboard with us, and then they can start extending themselves through videos and make them shoppable. So that's the primary purpose. Now I will say that there are streamers that are already well advanced in their streaming mindset, and they already have an e-com, and they already do a bunch of things, and they use our technology as well. So, but our primary target is really more for mid-sized brands that want to expand themselves and explore the video strategy and get there.
And right now, Nico, is the video vertical video at this point? Can you do horizontal? Is that maybe on the roadmap? Because I know there's kind of pros and cons to both, and user experience. And then I guess another question I would think too, and this kind of goes back to live solving, because I've been a big proponent when I meet with businesses that aren't using video at all, and folks, if you didn't know, there's a lot of companies not using video at all. But I could even
Crazy.
see where this could be used for service businesses.
Mhm.
They could sell their service in a sense live by explaining it, and like you could order a a free consultation, or book a service by maybe talking about this stuff live. Is that something you're exploring at all?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So first, on the question of vertical versus or portrait versus vertical mode, horizontal mode. So what we're seeing is that 70% of the people are coming from their mobile on the video, right? So horizontal is a great format. That's a YouTube format, that's the LinkedIn format, and all that. But the reality is, most people that will come to your show will engage from their phone. And so you really want to think about how do you make this suitable for your phone. So we support both vertical and horizontal. But if you have to ask me, I will always tell you, go vertical, because that's what people engage first with. So it's not as pretty when you're vertical and you're coming from an horizontal background, like LinkedIn or anything. You have those black bar. I mean, there are solutions. There are people that are doing some really cool stuff on that side. We don't do that yet, but really, vertical is something that we always are a big proponent of. Now, as it relates to the second question, and which is the services. So at the moment, we personally, we don't have much request for services. We had folks that have asked us like to add a calendar, to add like a lead gen form. We even have a client that asked us like to have a button where when you click on it, they can ring directly their phone. They have like a 24/7 phone line. It's for the medical space. So those things are doable, but it's not really the primary use case right now. We are serving mostly the beauty and industry, as well as the food industry, interestingly. And the food, I think, food is something that I think is really interesting, because there's so much content you can do with food that is exciting, right? Like, who doesn't like to hear about a good recipe?
Everybody eats, right?
Everybody eats, right? Or like a cooking show or things like that. And those are relatively easy to do, right? Like, put a camera on and then you start cooking. There you go. And people will stick to that because they love it, and especially if you have like a good audio and then you start to hear the grilling and all those things, it makes for a really fun experience. So
as you're talking about this, and you talk, and I am very interested in the whole shoppable aspect and how that's ported over to multiple sites, because that's got my if you can see smoke coming out of my ears right now, that's me thinking about how to apply this. But I think we say this all the time to content creators, Jeff C. Being one of them. And he's a proponent of this on his show. He does a show called Social Media News Live, which apparently is changing its name. But the guests that he has on that show, the guests that we have on Dealcasters, we talk about taking your content and making sure it's off of rented land. It's
Absolutely.
off of it. Of course, you got to be on YouTube, and you got to be like Jeff is, the Pinterest guy, and we're obviously on Amazon, right? But there's a lot of rules and regulations that there's certain things we can't do, because if we do them, then we get booted, and you don't get to come back unless you hire like a 6-figure lawyer. And so this sounds to me like something like, if you're looking to not just live sell, but protect your brand and protect yourself with land that you can control. I think this feels a lot like that. Am I off there?
Absolutely. We're, if you think about the live shopping space, I'll always consider like there's really 3 buckets. There's the social media space where, you go, you do your live on social media. You have the marketplace space, which is, probably much like 50% of all the live shopping is done on marketplace, the Amazon, the whatnot, and all that. And then you have on your website. It's a small chunk, but the reality is like you have control over your audience and your destiny as well, because no one can shut you down on your website. Now, it's not because it's on your website that it has to be completely ignored from the rest. You can still, if you have good technology, you can still leverage, like you're doing today, right? With the software that you're using, right? You could take that, put it on your website for an embed, maybe, if they offer that, and then be on Facebook and LinkedIn and those different places, right? But what we're offering on our side is like we're doing that simulcasting element, but we're also adding the shopping element to it. So for the shopper, it's one click to get there and continue engaging with you and have this ability to shop without leaving the experience where they're in, which is very important for us. We can't do it in every platform. We have to obey by the rules of every platform. So for instance, for TikTok, we can't do that. But we can really easily do it from Insta, Facebook, YouTube right now. We're exploring the Twitch and some other places. But more importantly is like distribution is a big thing. So how can we distribute the content differently and using existing channel that already exists to do that? But if you're a creator today and you have, like we're working some creators that are on TikTok and they're really doing well on TikTok, but they are all starting thinking about how do I transfer some of that audience off platform?
Yeah.
Not saying it out loud, obviously, but just saying like, how can I do that in a way where TikTok will still be my primary source of income, but my super fan, they will come there and I will have more control, because if tomorrow TikTok decide that, I say something that they don't like, or the government say, you know what, TikTok is no longer a US thing, and now what do I do, right? All those things can happen. And, we all have heard countless story of folks that have lost their YouTube handle, lost their Facebook handle, and then, even like 100 million companies, going bankrupt almost in a matter of 3 months because they couldn't access their handles anymore. So the reality is this is an opportunity for you to take some of your core fan and then have them engaging in a different experience where they can still get what they will be getting, but maybe differently. And our idea is not to say transfer all your audience, continue what you're doing, but leverage that technology to build slowly and incrementally your own experience, and maybe offer, why not offering some specials to your community there that you will not offer to Amazon. So to create that sense of community and engagement, there's really a lot of opportunity there. And building on outbound lanes, I mean, like, this is so important. And I think every creators that are real creators in this space understand that. And I think they are all trying to get to that point. I think when you get that level of maturity, is super important, because it's your business, it's you. So how do you protect yourself? It's a risk management.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And we've had some talks, Nico, about some things we may try to do together. But I think too, so when you're not on one of these big boxes, right, you're doing it yourself. What do you see as some of the challenges, like say for maybe a small, medium-sized business that's first getting into it? Because I mean, I guess, we've seen like say Shark Tank where all of a sudden, oh my gosh, my website is overwhelmed. I mean, I'm sure that'd be a good problem to have, but how do you kind of recommend to these people when they're starting? Like how do I get people to my website to watch this live show?
Yeah. So, and that's where it comes to be, going back to what we were saying at the beginning. Like, you have to be entertaining, you have to be patient, you have to be consistent, and you have to create a what's in it for me, why people are tuning in on your show, right? Because someone that is not fan of you or your show or anything, the likelihood for them to turn to your website to see what you're doing there is even lower than on social platform, because they're already there and like they're just scrolling up and down. So the reality is, when you do it on your on your website, it's about like the preparation, right? There's really nothing that's going to come out of like just doing a show and say, hey, I'm here. Are you there? Hello? Is anyone behind? Like, Jeff, are you still there? Oh, Jeff, oh, are you there? That's hard, right? This is very unlikely to work. So it's all about like, what do I do to tell you that I will be there, like the preparation. And there are like there's a really awesome book. It's called The Launch, and I can't remember the author, and I can share that on the notes later. But this person explained like how he built his email and to lead to a launch of a product, and he's having this 3-week time frame. And that's a really good way of thinking about how do you start your show. It's like creating this momentum, telling the story about why you're doing this and all that, and then be consistent and say, hey, I'll be there next Tuesday. Come tune in on Tuesday, and then make it oh, Jeff is here. Awesome. So it's all about creating this expectation for the shopper. I will finish with this, is that think about Avatar, right? How much money did the Avatar production spend to get you to go to the movie theater? Probably a lot of money, right? Now, think about your favorite TV show. You were talking about Shark Tank. How much money do they spend for you to watch Shark Tank? Pretty much nothing. Because why? You just know it's here at that day that you watch it. That's it, you know. And if it's not here, you just go to social on your Shark Tank handle, and then you will see a short clip of it, of what you missed, right? And so this is a different mindset. The channel versus the one-time thing. And when you start thinking channel, that's when the power starts, and then you can really engage your community that way.
I love that. I love the fact that you could still, you know, you're preaching to the choir, even though we don't always do it. It's sort of like, you know, we all know that in order to get more fit, we should go exercise more and eat better. Yet we still don't do it. And as content creators, we preach that we should work off the rented land and do things on land that you own. Yet we don't do it as much, right? We don't work on our email. We don't work on our the stuff that we know that we own, because it's a long game. And it takes consistency, and it's hard work. All this stuff is hard work, and it costs money to do, right? But I think what I love about what you guys are doing at eStreamly is like that value added piece. Again, there's smoke coming out of my ears, I'm sure right now. But the value added piece for me is key, because you can still go live on YouTube. You can still go live on Amazon. You could still go live in all of these places. And at some point, you can carrot them over to your site where you're doing something extra special for those people that are going there, right? And whether it's an after party or it's something that is saying, you know, hey, we've got something special. This is an event. All of a sudden, it becomes you're giving them a reason. You're giving them some value. You're giving them not just the information, not just entertainment, whatever you're providing as a part of your show. You're actually giving them a reason to come and watch you more. And I love that whole aspect. And again, there's smoke coming out of the back of my head, I'm sure, at this point. But that's good stuff.
Yeah, no, this has been amazing. And so, folks, if you want to find out more about eStreamly, I've got the at the bottom of the screen here. Go to eStreamly.com, and you know, if you want to follow, you know, Nicolas, you know, he's on LinkedIn. He's also got a community. Chris, got to make sure to invite you to the Circle community, where he's got all kinds of great information sharing with other.
There better be value there.
There's lots of value. There's a podcast episode link in there of a really good.
Oh yeah, I heard some guy was on that podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, and you know, and here's the nice thing, Chris, is we can all get together for coffee here in the area and
have a great cup.
More. There we go. We should all be in the same room and do a show.
Yeah, that would be fun. We should do that, definitely. We should do maybe you should come on the Live Ecom podcast, and
let's do it.
We do another show where we talk about, you know, all those topics again. I think there's tons of things going on there, so it'd be cool.
That way, when I go live, I'll actually have to wear pants, so that's good.
Well, this has been amazing, Nico. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we could probably talk all day, but you know, we know Jeff has to get to work, and maybe Jeff, you should probably have Nico on your show, because you know he's got some really great information, I think, for the people that are there, because I think you hit on it earlier. Those that are going to succeed are going to need to learn how to create better content, right? Or bring people that understand their product enough to create that content that brings value. It's not, you know, Chris and I have never been the QVC HSN guys, and I don't think that you see that as the way to success either. So Great stuff. Thanks so much. Any final thoughts, Chris or Nico?
Nico, I'll let you have the last word, my friend.
So last word. So just no, it's been amazing. I think there's this lady that is from Podetize, and the way she phrased it all the time. She say, "Don't sell, give." I love that notion, and so I'll stay there.
Awesome. Thank you, and thank you to Randy, the intern, for joining us today. I hope you were soaking this all in, and we're going to expect to see notes afterwards. Just kidding. Take care,
He's
everyone.
not kidding, Randy.